Kicked out at 17, with just $12 and a trash bag. Now my family wants to live in my $750,000 home after years of silence and lies. I was 17 when my dad told me I wasn't built for success. It wasn't some heat-of-the-moment insult. He said it calmly, like he was doing me a favor. Like the sooner I accepted my place in the family, the easier life would be for all of us. "You're the spare," he said, not even looking up from his newspaper. "Your brother's the heir. You're just extra." I think that moment carved something into me. Growing up, I always felt like the background character in someone else's story. My older brother Nathan was the golden child, the star athlete, honor roll student, family favorite. He had a bedroom that faced the lake, a brand new car the day he turned 16, and a dad who called him champ even when he messed up. Me? I was the one who got hand-me-downs, suspicious glances, and lectures for existing too loudly. At first, I thought I was the problem. I tried harder, got a job at 15, kept my grades solid, even started tutoring Nathan in math when he began slipping. But nothing changed. My mom called me lazy when I slept in on Sundays, even after closing late at the diner. My dad said I had no ambition when I mentioned wanting to go into culinary school instead of college. And Nathan? He just smirked whenever they tore into me, like he was silently enjoying every dig. Things escalated the summer before my senior year. Nathan wrecked his car after a party, completely totaled it while driving drunk. I was the one who found him crying in the garage, bleeding from his forehead, begging me not to tell mom and dad. I didn't. I took the blame. I told them I'd borrowed the car without asking, that I'd panicked and ran. I thought, maybe this would earn me some respect. Maybe they'd see I was capable of loyalty, of protecting the family. Instead, they kicked me out. My dad didn't even yell. He just pointed to the door and said, "Pack your things. You've embarrassed this family enough." That night I slept in a bus shelter 2 blocks away. The next morning, I walked back to grab my school backpack from the porch, only to find a trash bag with my clothes inside and a note that read, "You're on your own now. Learn something from this." No one checked on me. Not once. My mom told people at church that I'd chosen the streets because I was rebellious. Nathan went on vacation to Florida 2 weeks later, posting beach selfies like nothing had happened. I kept myself alive working double shifts at a convenience store, sleeping in the stockroom on cardboard when the manager wasn't looking. But you know what the worst part was? The silence. No birthdays, no Christmas cards, no, "How are you?" It was like I never existed. For 3 years. It was only after I got my associate degree in business through community college, after I'd moved 3 towns away and built a tiny freelance marketing business from a library Wi-Fi connection, that I finally felt like maybe, just maybe, I was free of them. Until last month. I got a text from my mom. Just one line. "Is that your face on the billboard off Route 9? Yes, it was. The local Chamber of Commerce had put me up as a young entrepreneur spotlight after I helped several local shops triple their online sales during COVID. It wasn't a huge deal in the big picture, but to me, it was everything. Proof that I wasn't a spare. That I was more than a shadow. 2 hours later, my dad called. I didn't answer. Then came the voicemails. From Nathan. From relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. All of them. Suddenly warm. Suddenly supportive. Suddenly curious about how I was doing. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because I knew. I just knew. They hadn't changed. They were only reaching out because they saw I had something they wanted. And sure enough, the next day, my mom called again. This time she left a message. "We're going through a rough patch. Nathan and his wife might lose their place. We were wondering if you still had that spare room you used to mention." I laughed. Out loud. Because that spare room? It didn't exist. I bought the whole house. And I bought it in cash. I didn't respond to my mom's voicemail. Not that day. Not the next. Not even when my Aunt Janice messaged me on Facebook saying, "You know it would really mean a lot to the family if you stepped up right now." Stepped up? I nearly choked on my coffee. Where were they when I was sleeping under a bus shelter, Aunt Jan? It's funny how people love to use the word family, like it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Like blood somehow erases everything they did, or didn't do. I didn't block them. I didn't rage post. I just stayed silent. But silence, apparently, wasn't enough. The following week, I came home from a client meeting and saw a familiar car parked across the street from my house. A silver Honda Civic. The same one my parents used to drive. I stared at it for a good 5 minutes before I even turned into the driveway. There was no mistaking it. And sure enough, sitting on the porch with a Tupperware container of what I assumed was guilt-laced banana bread, was my mother. She stood up when I got out of the car. "Oh my God, you look so good," she said, arms already reaching. I didn't hug her. I just looked at her like a stranger, because that's what she was. "Mom," I said quietly, "why are you here?" She had the nerve to smile like this was just some casual drop-in. "I wanted to see you. It's been so long. I thought maybe we could talk. Catch up." I leaned against the doorframe and didn't move. "Is Nathan okay?" I asked. Her face flickered. And there it was. The reason. The real reason. Not love. No regret. Not even a half-hearted apology. "He and Alyssa lost their apartment," she said. "They fell behind on rent. The baby's on the way and they just need a place for a little while. Just until they get back on their feet. Your father thought maybe we could all stay here, just for a few months." I almost laughed. "You kicked me out with a trash bag and a note," I said slowly. "I begged you to listen to me, and you told me to learn something from it. And now you want me to give up my peace, my home, for the son you threw me away for?" She blinked. Like I'd slapped her. "It was complicated back then. We were just doing what we thought was right." "No," I cut in. "You were doing what was easiest. You believed whatever Nathan said because it made your life simpler. It didn't matter if it ruined mine." There was silence. For the first time, I saw something close to shame in her eyes. Then, defensiveness. "Well, we didn't know how things would turn out. You've clearly done well for yourself. So maybe it wasn't such a bad thing after all." That's right there. They abandoned me, and now they wanted credit for it? "You're not coming inside," I said firmly. "And you can tell Dad and Nathan and everyone else that this house doesn't have a spare room." She opened her mouth, probably to beg or guilt-trip me. But I was already turning the doorknob. That's when she said it. "You're being selfish." I paused. I turned back around, looked her in the eye and smiled. "No, Mom. I'm just done being useful to people who only remember I exist when they need something." Then I closed the door. She didn't knock again. That night I lay awake thinking about everything. The weight of what happened. The fact that they were bold enough to show up here, to ask for help, to act like we were still family after what they did. For a moment, I felt guilt creeping in. That old, familiar ache of what if I'm the bad one now. But I remembered the look on my mom's face that day at the principal's office, when Nathan lied about me hitting him. I remembered how she cried for him, how she never once looked at me with belief or love or even curiosity. Just disappointment. I remembered being dragged from my school, shoved out of my own home. I remembered the silence. I owed them nothing. Still, I wasn't done yet, because part of me wanted, not revenge exactly, but accountability. So I drafted a message. Not to them, to my extended family. The cousins, aunts, uncles, people who had heard their version of events for years. People who thought I was troubled, rebellious, angry. I told them everything. I told them about the car crash, the fake confession, the trash bag on the porch, the years of silence, the Tupperware visit. I even attached a screenshot of the text Nathan had sent me years ago, the one where he bragged about how easy it was to get rid of me. I hit send. And for once, I didn't feel afraid. The message took about an hour to ripple through the family group chat. I had muted it years ago, but suddenly my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. "Aunt Marie. Is this real? I never knew this happened to you. Uncle Leo. Your parents said you ran away. That you were doing drugs. Cousin Denise. I always wondered why you disappeared. I'm so sorry. That text from Nathan is disgusting." Message after message poured in. Sympathy, shock, guilt. A few were awkward and unsure, the kind of apologetic attempts that felt more about their discomfort than my pain. But I didn't mind. I hadn't written it for pity. I'd written it for the truth. Then came the last name I expected to show up in my inbox. Alyssa. Nathan's wife. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. He told me you were unstable and violent, that your grandmother took you in after you assaulted your mom. I feel sick. I stared at her message for a while, unsure of how to respond. She messaged again. I left him last night. My breath caught. Apparently she had read the email out loud to Nathan. He laughed at first, then got defensive, then angry. Then he grabbed her phone, tried to delete it, and shouted at her for being naive. Alyssa, 7 months pregnant, and finally done being gaslit, packed a bag, and left for her sister's. She said my message snapped something in her. She saw the pattern now, and knew their baby deserved better. I didn't gloat. I just told her, you did the right thing. That should have been the end of it. But Nathan never did like being exposed. 3 days later, I was leaving my favorite coffee shop, just walking toward my car, when I heard someone call my name. I turned and saw him standing there. Nathan. He looked like a shadow of who he used to be. Unshaven, eyes sunken, wearing the same varsity jacket he'd had since high school, like he was still clinging to the last time anyone thought he was important. You think you're better than me now? He sneered. I didn't answer. He walked closer. Too close. You always played the victim. Even now. What? You want everyone to feel bad for you? You think anyone gives a damn about your sob story? I could smell the cheap beer on his breath. You lied, I said. Calm, quiet. Yeah? He laughed, bitter and sharp. So what? You survived, didn't you? You've got your big house and your little billboard, so quit crying. There was so much I wanted to say. I wanted to scream. I wanted to list every night I cried myself to sleep, every birthday I spent alone, every time I doubted my worth because of him. But I didn't, because he wanted a scene. So I stepped around him, opened my car door, and said just one thing. You lied. I thrived. And now you have to live with that. I left him standing in the parking lot. That night, I had dinner with my grandmother. She was the only one who never needed proof. I told her everything, about the email, the messages, even the run-in with Nathan. She listened, her hands folded neatly in her lap, only nodding occasionally. After I finished, she reached across the table and held my hand. You did good, she said. That was all I needed. A week later, I got a certified letter from my parents' lawyer. Apparently, they were considering defamation proceedings over my email to the family. I laughed. Loudly. My own lawyer. Yes. I finally hired one for myself. Told me to relax. Their claims were baseless. Empty threats. The attached evidence alone, especially Nathan's own written admission, would bury them. I never heard back from their lawyer. They went quiet again. I guess when you stop being useful, you disappear. That's when I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. I framed the note they left on my trash bag that night. You're on your own now. Learn something from this. It hangs in my office now, right next to my Chamber of Commerce award. Some people frame their diplomas. I framed a warning, and turned it into a promise. Spare. That's what he called me. Just a spare. A ghost in the family photo. A seat left empty at dinners. A name barely said aloud unless it followed the phrase, "What's wrong with her?" But do you want to know the cruelest part of being a spare? Spare parts get recycled. And that's exactly what they tried to do. Recycle me. It began again with a knock. Not a voicemail, not a message. Not another car on the street. A knock on my door, just after dusk. I almost didn't answer it. But something in me needed to. When I opened it, I didn't see my father. I saw a man shrinking inside his own body. Gone was the gruff voice. Gone is the superiority. He stood there in a threadbare sweater, holding an envelope. Not a letter. A stack of papers. I'm signing over the house to you, he said, not even looking at me. Your grandmother said, you'd earned it more than any of us ever did. My grandmother. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. She's sick, he added, finally meeting my eyes. No preamble. No manipulation. Just a fact. Cancer. Stage 4. We sat in silence on my porch. The same porch where my mother once begged for a spare room. She didn't want to tell you, he muttered. Said it would distract you from your work. Said she was proud. Proud. That word hit harder than anything else he could have said. I stared out at the garden she helped me build last spring. Lavender, rosemary and marigolds. She called it her living prayer. I could still see the faded gloves hanging over the fence where she forgot them last week. I swallowed my anger. Because this wasn't about them anymore. This was about her. She passed 3 weeks later. At home. My home. The one they once said I didn't deserve. I held her hand as her breaths grew shallower. She wasn't afraid. She just said, "Promise me you'll plant something new every spring. That's how you start over." And then she left me. But not before giving me the final gift. A truth I never expected. I found it in a small wooden box under her bed, sealed with a letter. Her handwriting. Slanted. Neat. Unmistakable. To the granddaughter they never saw. Inside was a stack of old journal entries. Yellowing paper. Notes dated from when I was 9, 11, 14, ages I had long tried to forget. She had written everything. My birthdays were ignored. The bruises. The lies. The way Nathan staged every accusation. The way my mother called me a mistake when she thought no one was listening. Proof. She had documented it all. And at the bottom of the box? A deed transfer for her house. Already notarized. Already signed. She had made me the sole heir. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't devastated, but because her final act wasn't about sadness. It was justice. She had rewritten our legacy. The funeral was small. I kept it that way on purpose. No open invitation. No family circus. Just a list of names I knew would stand still during silence and not try to rewrite history. But of course, they came anyway. Nathan. My mother. Dressed in black like it could mask anything. Standing by the edge of the crowd, waiting for a moment to insert themselves. After the final prayer, my mother approached. She didn't cry. She just looked around at the garden, the house, the community of friends and colleagues gathered around me, people who chose me. Then she asked, "Is it true? Did she leave it all to you?" I looked her in the eye and said the one thing she always denied me. Yes. That night, they left a letter on my doorstep. Typed, formal, sterile. A request for temporary accommodation, for healing and transition, it said. They wanted to live in the house. Her house. The same house they'd abandoned her in when she took me in. I sat there for a long time. And then I wrote them back. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Turner, thank you for your interest in staying at the residence located at 49 Maplewood Lane. At this time, all rooms are currently occupied by peace, silence, dignity, and the long overdue scent of lavender. As such, we are unable to accommodate guests who abandoned these values in the past. May you find shelter in the structures you built with your choices. Kindly, the Spare No More. It went viral. Because I posted it, and for once, I told my own story. No edits, no shame, no revenge, just the unfiltered truth. People shared it, stitched it, messaged me. Not for drama, but for relief. Because I wasn't alone. There are so many of us. So many spares, who was actually the whole damn engine? Today I walked through my grandmother's garden and planted something new. Just as I promised. A single white rose bush, named Rebirth. And this time, the story doesn't end with exile or anger. It ends with roots. Because I am not a spare. I am the seed that survived. Thanks for watching and being part of the drama. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a wild new story.